Hey, and welcome to 31 Days of Horror. Thanks a lot for stopping by. So I'm gonna start the season with this movie from 2018. It's a movie I skipped when it first hit festivals and theaters and everywhere, because I saw the look of it. I saw especially this poster, and it looked a little bit too generic for me. I'm a picky guy when it comes to contemporary films. I've burnt my fingers a few times. There have been films which have been hyped up by festivals, which have been named, which have been hailed as, you know, worthy of some great classics, and then I watched them and they were basically shit. And I'm just gonna give you an example. The movie It Follows. It was so hyped, and then I watched it and sorry. I mean, I watched it through, but it was not a major classic, okay? It was fun, but it was not, you know, people used to rave about it. And I burnt my fingers a few times on such movies, and this is why I skipped Summer of '84. And now I watched it for the first time, okay? And what can I say? I was impressed. I had pretty low expectations. From the trailer, I thought this was just going to be some kind of a pastiche, maybe a little bit overlong, maybe a little bit boring, maybe a little bit tame. No, it was none of these things. So it's a movie by RKSS. These are really creative people. I'm really impressed by their grasp on storytelling. Summer of '84, it got going really well. The opening scenes, it takes you right in. What I've got to say about this film in terms of synopsis: so it's a small town. There is 4 friends, 4 kids, and there is this local cop, and they suspect him of being a serial killer. So they start following him about and digging his trash, and, you know, sneaking into his place when he's out to try and find out, is he or isn't he the serial killer. And there is a lot of good to say about this film. First of all, it does deliver. Something I wasn't really expecting. I thought this was going to be quite watered down and a bit toothless. This was my anticipation, judging from the trailer and this cover artwork, which is fine, but a tiny bit too generic. So I didn't expect as much personality from this movie and as much bite. You know, it's a film that has the goods. I'm really glad I checked it out. I'm also really immensely happy to discover a contemporary film. I know this is not from this year, this is a couple of years old, but it's not from the 70s, but it's a contemporary film which works. It's nice. It's a good story. You can follow the story. You can enjoy it basically just as a normal movie. It's not an immortal masterpiece, but it's just a fun film, and I'm gonna be happy to add this to my collection, and I will recommend it further to other skeptical film fans. I know a lot of my friends are skeptical about recent films. The good thing about Summer of '84 is it doesn't have any of that rubbish CGI, so there is no CGI blood, and it's a very nice period recreation. Now, there are great period cars in the film, and just the costume department, it's good enough. I don't think this was like an epic high budget movie, so considering their production level, it's a lovely film to look at. And a lot of cinematography it didn't hit you over the head, oh, we're super stylish, but it was just right so that you could follow the story. So it didn't take over. It never became style over substance, which happens all too frequently in recent films. Like, there is a movie I think came out maybe 2015, Strange Color of Your Body's Tears, and I went and saw it at the cinema. That was another one which was hyped up as some kind of a emerging new messiah basically of Eurocult cinema, and that film was just shite. I hated it. So they just recycled lots of Morricone music, and that got me worried, because it basically, they got the budget from, they got funding from somewhere, and then they did a movie which was all style and no story, no plot. It was marketed as some kind of an art house giallo, but it was neither really. Sorry, I'm getting carried away here. I'm just explaining why I'm sometimes wary of these recent films. Oh, there was a movie called Occhi di Cristallo, Eyes of Crystal, a few years back, which was supposed to be the new Dario Argento emerging, you know, a new filmmaker worthy of Argento's laurels, and that film was frankly crap. So, you know, I had a few negative experiences, and then I started skirting, and then I started avoiding these kind of more recent films when they go back for the retro aesthetic, or the, you know, some of them end up as clumsy pastiches. None of that applies to Summer of '84. I really want to recommend this film. Speaking of the negatives, there are a few, but they're tinsy. Really, it's such a good film. Dialogue, I would say there are no highly quotable lines in this movie because the kids are a tiny bit generic. There is 4 kids. There is the skinny kid, the fat kid, then there is the kind of the tough, law-breaking kid, and then there is the hero kid who's kind of smart and gets lucky with girls. So he's like our lead, and they're recognizable archetypes, stereotypes, and they do never break out of those stereotypes. The acting is excellent. There is nothing wrong with performances. All performances across the board are very spot on. It's just the level, you know, of the dialogue. It's sometimes a little bit too, like, I can't remember of any lines which I thought, okay, this was hilarious or this was in any way original. So yeah, for a relatively dialogue-driven film, it's not written in a super original or creative way, but that doesn't matter. It's also a visual, atmospheric film, so it, you know, it takes you on this journey. And especially the final act surprised me, where the movie switched gear a little bit, and I didn't see that coming because, like I said, I anticipated a slightly toothless, well-meaning love letter postcard, 1980s nostalgia, really. Which this is what this promotion artwork suggests. But yeah, the film was stronger than that, and I love the final act. It really gripped me. So I'm so glad I checked out Summer of '84. I'm sure some of you know this film. If you're not as averse to recent horror movies as I am, I'm sure you've got something to share. I mean, you know, do you love it as much as I do? I wonder. I'm so pleased to have a movie which is recent and is worth watching, and it doesn't overdo stupid CGI, it doesn't overdo period references. So it's a film set in the 80s, but it doesn't go too meta or anything. It doesn't go wink at you, which is great. It doesn't try to be the Citizen Kane of, you know, thrillers or horror movies. It's just a solid genre film made from a creative team, which I'm sure they've got a few more cool movies coming. So that's day 1 of 31 Days of Horror, and I'm gonna pick a few movies from the archive, the movies which I've seen before but not for many years, so I'm going to be reviewing them and see if my opinion have changed. And I've also picked a few more recent films which I've never seen. I tend to have strong opinions on recent films because they're easier to criticize. I know filmmaking technology, current filmmaking technology, so I can be very unforgiving when it comes to certain things. So I can be unkind, I think, to contemporary movies, whereas with older movies I tend to be more forgiving because I wasn't around. I tend to always, you know, side with filmmakers and say, look, they had a very limited, you know, sort of number of tools at their disposal, and it was just a different time. You know, also audiences weren't as spoiled, as picky, as nerdy 30, 40 years ago as we are now. So I'll see you at day 2, 31 Days of Horror.